I came across a post the other day asking people what their most firmly held unpopular belief was. I was a bit shocked to see that one opinion kept being shared over and over to the point where it didn't seem like it was actually that unpopular. The opinion was that people shouldn't be allowed to have children unless they could pass a test proving that they could be the perfect parents. Some even went so far as to say that every person should be sterilized at puberty and then only those that could pass the test could have it reversed. I've seen a lot of attacks on the family, but this one is particularly scary to me because I think it has the power to effectively target our own insecurities. So here are some points that I would like to make to address this. First, who would get to decide what would qualify a person as a perfect parent? I can only imagine what that list of qualifications might look like, and I'm positive that very few, if any, would make the cut. See, the funny thing is that I have seen that a common argument against religion is that it expects too much, demands perfection, or sets us up for failure because we can't meet unrealistic standards. But my experience is that those feelings come from man, not God. Satan is really good at combining a truth and a lie to make the lie more believable. And while it's true that we should take the responsibility to prepare for parenthood seriously, that preparation isn't what the world or Satan would have you believe. I have read through The Family, A Proclamation to the World many times. Nowhere in it does it say that parents must have PhDs or be experts to be good parents. What it does say is that husband and wife have a solemn responsibility to love and care for each other and for their children. Children are a heritage of the Lord. Parents have a sacred duty to rear their children in love and righteousness, to provide for their physical and spiritual needs, and to teach them to love and serve one another, observe the commandments of God, and be law-abiding citizens wherever they live. Husbands and wives, mothers and fathers, will be held accountable before God for the discharge of these obligations. I think it's also worth stating that it doesn't say that we need to live in mansions, drive the nicest cars, or be able to buy the whole baby store before bringing children to the world. Babies have fairly simple needs, and we're the ones that have a tendency of overcomplicating them. The next point I would like to make is that research and study alone do not make an expert. I love to research. Before doing a craft or working with an animal, going to a new place, or trying a new restaurant, I enjoy doing my homework on the subject. I have come to realize that no matter how much bookwork is done, however, until you are in the middle of things, it doesn't always click. Sooner or later, you're going to experience something in a way that research couldn't predict. You can learn ways to cope with the changes, but your experience is up to you. And sometimes I have found that the more you expect something to play out exactly as you predicted, the more frustration it can bring when it doesn't happen that way. Children have a way of bringing out that frustration. I think every parent out there has experienced a moment that they swore would never happen before having kids. My children were always going to eat whatever meal I put in front of them without complaint. Being prepared with ideas and goals certainly helps, but I've learned that as a mother of 6, that what works for one child doesn't always work for the other. Being a parent isn't something you can ever completely prepare for because each child is different and they'll each face their own unique trials and challenges. Being a parent is a daunting task. There's a trend I've seen lately where parents are blamed for all of our flaws. I've heard comments like, my parents did or didn't do this, and as a result, this is how I am. Or, I don't want to have kids because what if I mess them up like my parents messed me up? Please don't get sucked into this way of thinking. Blaming parents for their imperfections does us no good. We all have imperfections. That's why we're here. We are practicing for perfection. We can look at our own experiences as a way to try and do better, but expecting perfection from ourselves or others can lock us into a form of decision paralysis, because no matter what we do, there's a good probability that we'll get it wrong at times. The good news is that our loving Heavenly Father doesn't expect us to do it on our own. He sent His perfect Son to perform His perfect atonement. That means that as long as we are trying to do our best, He will take care of the rest. His perfect atonement makes up for our faults. He is there to help the parents as well as the child. If your childhood was not one full of love, He is there to help you through it as well. He is enough. He knows we aren't going to be perfect, but that through Him we can be made perfect. Being a parent is a wonderful gift. I have learned more from the experience than any other thing I've done in my life, and my oldest is only 8. I can't wait to see what new things we'll all learn together. If we were to limit who had the opportunity of being a parent, then we would be denying so many the lessons of growth and perspective that can only come through the selfless act of raising these little ones. We would also be limiting those precious spirits from coming to earth to gain bodies of their own. They don't need the perfect parent. Our circumstances don't dictate our worth. Beautiful things can and do come from less than perfect situations.